Hello and welcome to the Rapid City Legal and Finance Committee meeting for July 15th, 2015. I'd like to start with the roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Here.
Thank you. Now is the time to adopt the agenda. If there's any committee member who would like to add or modify any items on the agenda, I'd hear from them at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
Second.
Got a motion by Lewis to adopt the agenda, second by Laurenti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Now is a time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the audience to address the seated committee members on any issue or item that is not currently listed on the agenda. I currently have no speaker request forms for items not on the agenda, and am I missing anyone in the audience that would like to address the committee on an item not on the agenda? All right, we're going to move off of general public comment and consider public comment for consent items. Consent items are 1 through 15 on today's agenda. I do have one speaker request form for consent item number 7. Mr. Steve Winya. Sir, if you'd approach the podium, state your name and your affiliation to the city, and you have 3 minutes to address this committee.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Steve Winnie. I own and operate casinos with other property here in Rapid City, other commercial property. I'm here to ask the Legal and Finance Committee to recommend to Council that they release additional video lottery / beer licenses. I currently have 3 approved locations approved by the City Council, and there are no video lottery licenses available. I have contacted all of the license holders on the inactive list. Carolyn's Casino out of Sturgis, Shooters, Troy with MG Oil, Carousel, Shenanigans, no sellers. Nobody even wants to release a license. Price didn't even come up, it was just no. So there are guidelines that were set up to release just a few of these licenses by the lottery system set up by Mayor Ed McLaughlin many years ago. I believe this is the scenario these guidelines were set up for when we got to this point in population. There are 17. The city is currently sitting on 17 video lottery / alcohol licenses that can be released. In closing, I would again ask that you recommend to the council to release some of these 17 licenses via the lottery system, the recommendation for a lottery system that was set up years ago. I would appreciate that you recommend to the council to release some or all of these licenses. Thank you. I'll answer questions at any time you want me to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item number 7 currently on the agenda is to acknowledge the report on the malt beverage licenses. If this item does get pulled tonight or Monday night, then any other discussion can include your request at that time. But just so that you're aware, this is just on the agenda as an acknowledgement of the report at this time. I have no other further speaker request for consent items 1 through 15. Am I missing anyone for any of the items on the consent calendar? Items 1 through 15. Seeing none, we're closing public comment on consent items 1 through 15. At this time, I'll entertain direction from any committee members who would like to consider any items 1 through 15 for separate consideration. Chair recognizes Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's pull item number 3 and item 15.
Are there any other items that committee members would like to consider separately? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent items 1 through 15, except item number 3 and item number 15 as on the agenda. I've got a motion by Laurenti and a second by Lewis to approve. Oh, sorry, just hold on a second. Chair recognizes our Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I have number 8 pulled too? Because I just want to clarify the extra report that I handed to you. And we'll end up wanting to change the title also for the council meeting.
So I'd like to check with the motion maker and the second. Is that acceptable that we are approving consent items 1 through 15, except items 3, number 8, and number 15? Accepted by the seconder as well. Any other further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is to approve the audit report of the City of Rapid City for the 2014 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or the CAFR. I'll entertain a motion, or Chair recognizes Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion to send this to council without recommendation.
I've got a motion by Nordstrom to send item number 3 to council Monday night without recommendation, a second by Laurenti. The main reason that this is being pulled and sent to council is that there will be a full presentation on this report Monday night. Instead of doing the report twice, it's better if it goes before full council, just so the audience members know. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8 is to acknowledge the annual reports to the City Council per Rapid City Code 2.40.080. Chair recognizes Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason I asked this to be pulled is, first of all, I'd like to change the title to acknowledge the annual reports to Council per Rapid City Municipal Code and leave off the code number. Wade was so nice as to advise me late yesterday afternoon that I also needed to report on our life safety loan and the fund that actually funds these loans to businesses to install sprinkler systems. So that is the report that I laid out for you on the dais. I was able to complete that this morning, and so that will need to be added to the reports for Monday night.
And I'm sorry, Pauline, I didn't hear you. Did you recommend a change in the title for Monday night?
Correct. We're just going to take off the 2.40.080.
All right. I'll entertain a motion by any committee member. Chair recognizes Alderman Lewis.
I'll make that motion as per her recommendations.
Got a motion by Lewis to change the title, removing 2.40.080 from the subtitle on this item, and then to also make note that it includes an extra report that will be linked, as well as the other reports for Monday night. I've got a second by Nordstrom. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15. Item number 15 is the resolution number 2015-072A. 72, no A. It's a resolution to approve the request to consider an application for a resolution of dissolution of the tax increment district number 63 for property generally described as being located west of Elkvale Road and north of Copperfield subdivision. And I've got a motion by Lewis to approve, second by Nordstrom. I'd like to take this opportunity to let Sarah approach the podium from city staff and give a brief explanation on what this will do for the taxing entities.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sarah Hansel with Rapid City Planning Department. Just wanted to outline some of the key facts with this tax increment district. Number 63 was created in 2007. It's generally located west of Elkvale Road and north of Highway 44. This district was about 175 acres in size. The tax increment funds used for public improvements for this project were used for a drainage crossing and also to extend Home Street through the Rushmore Business Park to improve access to that business park. In 2007, the base valuation of the property was just over $1 million. Now, 8 years later, it's just over $18 million. So this TID paid off about 12 years early and has seen a substantial increase in tax revenues. Just to illustrate that a little bit more, in 2007, total revenues were about $16,684, and now the 2015 revenues are estimated at about $323,000. Of those, the city is allocated about 19% of those proportions, the county 27%, and the school district 54%. So in the 7-8 years that this TIF was active, it's seen a substantial increase in tax revenues.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions for Sarah by any seated committee members? Seeing none, I do have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now on to non-consent items, items 16 through 19. This is a time for public comment on any of the non-consent items. I currently have no speaker request forms for any of the non-consent items. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We are now on to item number 16. Item number 16, Miss Susan Timmons, and this is the Human Relations Commission semi-annual update. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Legal and Finance Committee. I have linked a rather detailed report to you, and I'm going to try to summarize a little bit of what we've been doing the past 6 months. You'll note that we've included an explanation of how a complaint is initially handled since our ordinance was revised last year. A screening standard was developed to aid in the process of determining if an issue falls within a category covered by the Human Relations Commission, and only if the requirements are met is a complaint termed a verified complaint. So, here are some of our statistics. Since January, 11 callers have been referred to other agencies because the complaint was against a public entity or the city or arose outside the city limits of Rapid City. In the first half of this year, there have been 12 meetings scheduled with Assistant Attorney Wade Nyberg for the purpose of reviewing the substance of a complaint that did not result in a verified complaint being filed. And of those 12, 4 of those complaints resolved themselves outside the HRC process. 4 others did not fit the HRC ordinance's definition of discrimination, and the remainder of the 12 decided not to follow through with the process after the initial meeting. In the time since the revised ordinance took effect, there have been 5 verified complaints of discrimination filed with the Rapid City Human Relations Commission. 3 of those were transferred to the State Human Rights Commission at the request of the respondent. Respondents have a statutory right to transfer the complaint within 15 days of notice that a complaint was filed. Of the 2 remaining complaints, 1 complaint has been investigated and a subpoena is pending. One of the respondents in this case has received a time extension to file a reply. In the second complaint, the respondent has let the 15 days expire, so the case will be handled at the local level and not transferred to the state. Presently, there are potentially 2 new verified complaints waiting to be filed. In one, the draft complaint is being reviewed by the complainant, and we are awaiting a signature before proceeding. In the second case, a copy of the complaint is in the process of being drafted. We have a new member of the commission, as you know, because you approved her appointment. Jacqueline Gary was appointed in May to fill the vacancy of Tim Standing Soldier, who passed away. She was sworn in at the June meeting and is going to participate in an orientation and training session later today with Assistant Attorney Wade Nyberg. We had a special meeting February 15th, which was covered quite widely in the news media. That meeting was with Carol Russo from the United States Department of Justice and Community Relations Service. She was invited to attend in order to discuss suggestions for outreach and reconciliation in the community after the incident at the Civic Center. About 25 members of the public attended, along with media. And as a result of that, we have done a lot more outreach to the public to try to explain what we do, because it was unclear to some members of the public exactly what the Human Relations Commission does and what we cannot do, and the types of cases that we can take. So, under education and outreach in the past 6 months, we have done a number of radio and TV interviews explaining the work of the commission. We have developed a public service announcement called Stand Up, Speak Out. And the purpose of that was to advise the public that we exist and what we do, how to contact us, but also It was to encourage the public to take action to interrupt a bias incident. There have been studies done saying that this can be very effective. So I'm sure maybe some of you have seen it. It encourages the public to stand up and speak out and take responsibility when you witness or hear something happening. That public service announcement was developed for us by Mid-Continent Communications. Tim Riley assisted us with that. And there have been 2 versions of it put out already. The first version featured the commission members. It was aired 767 times over cable, and that amounted to about over $6,000 worth, which was donated to us free from Mid-Continent. The second version has ran during June, and it was also about the same number of times aired and about the same amount of money donated to us. So we're very grateful to Tim Riley of Mid-Continent for that. Public notices. Feedback from members of the public and the Native American community indicated that information was lacking about the specific type of complaint that the Human Relations Commission handles. So we developed a small notice and placed it in the Native Sun News to let them know how to contact us and the types of cases that we handle. A PowerPoint program has been developed explaining the work of the commission, and it's ready to be presented to civic groups and local organizations. We also have content ready to put on our page of the city website whenever we're able to do that. I know that it's being updated, and we're just waiting. We want to make it more user-friendly and put more information for the public on so that they can look at that when they want to consider what they want to do and if they want to contact us. There have been commission members, as part of their responsibilities for being accountable, for being informed regarding current civil rights issues in Rapid City, have participated in a number of community meetings that have taken place since January, both with the Barbara Snyder Foundation, with the Creating Alliances meetings, and also with the Omniche Rotary Group with their World Cafe type meetings to discuss race relations in Rapid City. So this is ongoing, and this participation has been very valuable. We'll also be inviting some members of those groups to speak to the Human Relations Commission to keep us updated. So that's what we've been doing for the past 6 months. We're going to continue with public outreach and education. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Sue. The chair would like to recognize Alderman Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to acknowledge.
I've got a motion to acknowledge by Lewis, second by Nordstrom. Chair recognizes Alderman Laurenti.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to the Human Relations Commission. Please pass on to them my personal thanks for their work. I know there was a lot of, not necessarily pain, but debate, good debate about the power that we would give the local Human Relations Commission and how it would play out. But the way that you describe how these different cases have played out obviously says a lot about the effectiveness of what your group does to handle them. Some of them just get taken care of before they ever get any further than the initial complaint. And I appreciate that. It goes to the effectiveness of your group, and please pass on to them my gratitude. Thank you.
I will do that, and thank you very much.
Any further lights? Yes. Chair recognizes Alderman Nordstrom.
I guess I'm showing up as another council member. The couple of things I just want to acknowledge the HRC group and Ms. Timmons for the leadership that you put onto this. Between you and Wade, thank you very much for all your hard work as well. And again, to reiterate what Alderman Laurenti has said, please pass on our thanks for all the hard work that you do. Of all the cases that you folks have been involved with, I'm not looking for an average number of time for turnaround, but can you give us some general idea how long it takes to resolve a complaint?
Oh, let's see. You know, it depends. We had a case that was filed. Wade, can you help me? That the one that we're working on right now, that was filed in the one we're awaiting.
I want to say, I think it started February or March.
That's what I was going to say. And we are at the point where actually we're going to be meeting tomorrow to determine probable cause. We've had a couple of meetings already with that, but needed some more information. So,
And in case anybody couldn't hear Mr. Nyberg, but he said that complaint was filed in February or March.
Yes.
And you're indicating, Sue, that you're getting ready to
yes, yes.
take action on it.
Yes, we are.
Resolution?
Thank you. And then at the current time, do you have any, besides this one, have you got any other cases that are pending, an outcome
Yes.
or, go ahead.
We have another verified complaint that the time limit has run out for the respondent to request that it be sent to the State Division of Human Rights, so we'll be handling it locally. There are, Wade just advised me that we have 2 more potential verified complaints that are pending. One is being, the draft of the complaint is being reviewed by the complainant and is awaiting a signature. And the second one, he has met with the complainant, and a draft of a complaint is going to be produced. I'm not sure whether it's done yet, but it's in the process of being drafted.
And did I hear you correctly that you've got one use of the subpoena power that you've been granted, just one time?
Yes, at the advice of Attorney Wade Nyberg, after numerous requests for a piece of information, the commission, with the advice of Wade, decided that we, in order to complete the case, that we needed to issue a subpoena. And we are awaiting word on that. In fact, we're meeting tomorrow.
Thank you. I'll yield.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, I do have a motion to acknowledge the report in a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sue. Item number 17 is an introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6049 to amend provisions in the International Residential Code to address fire protection of floors by amending section 15.13.280 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Chair recognizes Alderman Lewis.
Thank you. Make a motion to send this item to council without recommendation due to the fact that we have a potential tie here anyway. Doesn't seem like there's any particular reason to vote up or down on it.
I've got a motion currently by Lewis to send item number 17 to council without recommendation. Do I have a second? Seeing no second, motion dies lack of a second. Chair recognizes Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to direct staff, specifically building inspection and the fire department, to work together to identify some potential areas currently in the building code and bring back recommendations to legal and finance as to the other areas in the code that we can use to offset the potential cost of this new requirement for item 17. If I can get a second.
Okay, I have a motion to direct staff, building inspectors, and fire department to take a look to see if there's any potential monetary offsets that could be brought back to legal and finance for consideration. And Chair will then go to Mr. Tim Billings or to Chief Mike Multiver.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, I appreciate Councilman Laurenti's comments and the direction to staff. And this might be a timely explanation of some of the things that the fire department has done to this point to assist developers and builders to, I guess, work collaboratively with them to find some potential cost savings even before we get to this point. So with that, if I could, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to Assistant Chief Billings for a couple of comments. And possibly to speak to what we've been doing the last week or so since our last council meeting, the direction that was given at that time.
Okay, and so, Mr. Billings, this, just to let everybody know, this discussion has been going on for months at length. If you could please keep your comments to those items within the last week that have not already been discussed, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, that's exactly the direction that we're moving in today, to keep things short. So thank you for the opportunity. This is really just a summary of the activities that occurred over the last week, as Chief Multiver identified. When we came out of council on July 6th, the direction to us was to communicate with the Black Hills Home Builders, try to set up some meetings and identify some cost-saving measures and move forward from there. Beginning on the morning of Tuesday morning, on the 7th, I sent a communication to the Black Hills Home Builders requesting a number of meetings over the last week to try to accommodate the direction from council. Throughout that week, the earliest conversation I directly had with leadership at Black Hills Home Builders was with Jeff Loggy on Thursday afternoon. And following that discussion, they weren't prepared to meet, and they also had other meetings going on this week. But he indicated that they really didn't have a list assembled to work on. So that's really where it was left. I haven't had communications since. We've sent numerous requests, but haven't heard anything back. The second part was identify cost-saving measures. We really expected, when we went into that, based upon testimony previously provided by the home builders and other discussions that my staff and myself have had with the home builders, we really expected to easily identify a list of items to maybe begin discussion to work from. And with that and through the discussions, we really haven't identified that. There isn't a list that's readily available based upon my conversation with Mr. Loggy. So at this point, there's really no list from them. I really felt that the home builders would have something like that in place, since they often talk of a number of pieces that add cost to development and residential construction. So I was really kind of hoping that there'd be a shopping list, so to speak, that we could begin to work from. And at this point, there is not, does not appear to be available. Now, taking the cost-saving measures into consideration, I want to kind of bring you up to speed as to where the Rapid City Fire Department and other city staff have been to date with how we address developments and cost savings to support development and home building and homeowner ownership and so forth. At this point, the Rapid City Fire Department, we've worked on this for a number of years, and we continue to exercise options which are intended to facilitate development, reduce cost wherever possible, overcome site and construction issues or code issues. We continue to do that all the time. And here's just a few examples. I broke this up into really three different groups. One is a developer-based component. When we deal with a new development coming through, we oftentimes support additional dwelling units on a single cul-de-sac. Our topography and limited area, there's often requests for higher density and so forth. So we support additional units on a cul-de-sac. We support the number of units, additional units supported by a single point of access. The code limits us to 40. We have a number of areas we've exceeded that based upon the use of fire sprinkler protection and other protection measures. We've eliminated intermediate turnarounds on long cul-de-sacs. That's reducing the cost by eliminating the need for asphalt and curb and gutter and other maintenance, long-term maintenance issues. We've increased fire hydrant spacing, reduced the number of needed fire hydrants. We've offset fire flow deficiencies throughout the city to reduce infrastructure costs as new developments are going in. We also have utilized in the last year, worked with builders and developers on multifamily tenant spaces, an alternate form of fire protection to try to reduce the cost of construction with great success in that avenue. Now, if we deal, and most of those provisions are based upon utilization of fire sprinkler protection. That's the one key tool that we really have that offsets a lot of issues overall, including the one that Ordinance 6049 is based upon. Now, most of those are developer-based components that I spoke of, but we would expect that those costs would eventually be passed down through the building process and to the homeowner. Now, dealing with single sites or homeowner lots, we have a lot of the same issues. We adjust and accept driveway grades that are excess of the code based upon other provisions. Driveway widths, reduced widths to try to reduce cost. Fire flows. We adopt or work with homeowners and builders to utilize remote areas for development and construction. Reduced building separations. We have, because of our topography and limited areas, oftentimes there's requests for reduced separations between buildings or structures, especially in the urban interface. And we typically support that utilizing other protection features to help reduce that cost and support that development. And oftentimes reducing setbacks to property lines. We utilize fire protection for that as well. Dealing specifically with the International Residential Code, which this particular item is addressing, with Section 501.3, we've identified seven total options, of which most everything's focused on the sheetrock. There's six other options that can be utilized to exercise or obtain that same compliance. There's also another provision in there that Section 302.7, which is understair protection. We feel that that may be an option, another component we could utilize to reduce the need for sheetrock in that case through the use of other protection methods. So the point of it all is simply we have been exercising the efforts to reduce cost of development, promote development, reduce end user cost for homes overall. So, and lastly, I'll just leave you with, there were, over the last 18 months, there's 302 permits issued total for new homes, that'd be single-family dwellings and townhomes, and of those, about 166 or so had unfinished basements that this particular section would address. So it's not a huge impact. But with that, thank you.
Alderman Laurenti, you still have the floor?
Thank you, Chair. And I had a question for Mr. Billings. Sir, thank you for your presentation. I just want to clarify for the public that my motion to direct staff to the building inspection and the fire department to come together to try to find some areas where we can make an offset for this life-saving, this public safety in the building of homes was not meant to say that this isn't something that the fire department doesn't do, because I'm well aware that they do as well. So I just want to clarify that I'm well aware, and I just want the public to be aware that the fire department does a very good job of making concessions, if you will, where they can without sacrificing safety, and helping builders and developers still, put their homes together in a way that they can still be sold to potential buyers. My question to you is, with my direction here, how much time do you think it will take? Because I didn't think I put a time in there, so we need to do that. So if you can answer that question, how much time will you need with building inspection to be able to put together some potential recommendations to the Legal and Finance Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Laurenti. That's a good question. Having not spoken with Brad Solon about that directly, I would guess we'd be looking at probably in the neighborhood of a month or so, just to get a rough idea where we're at, and actually allow communication with the home builders in the meantime as well.
I don't know if we need an amendment, but because we have a motion.
Just state a date, which
So
do you
along
want
with the
second?
motion, a month from now, at the next Legal and Finance Committee, a month from now. So I'm not sure what that will be, but
The motion then would be to direct staff between the building inspectors and the fire department to work together towards bringing back to Legal and Finance to the middle meeting in August 12th? August 12th, Legal and Finance meeting. Those possible cost-saving measures that could be used as offsets based on this new updated code. And is that okay with the seconder?
It is.
So that's currently the motion on the floor. Do you have any other questions?
no, that's
Alderman
it. Thank
Laurenti?
you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Lewis. Okay, that's cleared the queue. One of the things is just a question for clarification. When you're working on this, and did you mean for staff to actually, because I think one of the questions that's been out there is, how would the developer know which option out of the 6 or 7 they could use? Is that part of their recommendation to bring back?
Well, and hopefully hopefully the home builders will get involved in the next month as well, so that there is a communication with them. And I believe from the conversations we've had, but if not, that the fire department and our staff would clarify for them that it's not just sheetrock. There are multiple medias that can be used to satisfy, be it sprinklers, some spray-on medias, from my understanding as well, that there will be clarification for them as well, so that they can ultimately probably choose the least expensive method in the way that they might build their home. So absolutely, I think that communication has happened, but if not, I want to make that part of what staff should do with Black Hills Home Builders if they accept the communication. So Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's why I wanted to put that clarification, because there were multiple options keep being mentioned, but no wording as far as who has the opportunity to choose which option, or if it's a domino effect.
And if I might just respond just briefly, Madam Chair, those options are open to the builder. That's truly totally in their hands to make whatever decision is best for their particular project at that time. So, and I really need to identify also the process of identifying components out of the code to shave off will be a bit daunting, just from the standpoint of the code is typically a minimum standard already, but we'll look at various items to see what we can come up with and use the communication with the home builders to identify that. So,
Right, thank you.
thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Lewis. Oh, sorry. Just so everyone knows, the names coming up are not the people that are sitting, so I'm having trouble trying to figure out who's dialing in. Sorry, Alderman Nordstrom, you have the floor.
My thank you to Alderman Laurenti for bringing up some of these items from the fire department. But if I could bring in Mr. Solon from building inspection for a couple of points, to add into the discussion. You get to introduce yourself now.
I'm Brad from Development Services.
Mr. Solon, if you've been hearing most of this discussion so far. Have you got any suggestions or concessions that we can look at as well from the building code area? And specifically, one area of interest for me is that if a person comes in and does an addition, then that means in some cases, I can't say every case, but the ones that I'm familiar with, is that there has to be some alterations within the building, the entire building, and it may not be just this one specific area. So is that potential area of being a cost savings? And I can give you some examples. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not real sure about what the actual question is. I know that you just said that there was somebody that came in and did an addition. We're thinking that this is probably going to apply to new houses only, not existing houses. Is that what you meant? Or are you talking about they want to come in and do an alteration in a house and they only do part of the basement, like a bedroom and a bathroom, or the bedroom and the living room in the basement, so all of it doesn't get done? That's probably going on right now. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I wasn't, but since you clarified it, it's just for new houses. I think it makes a significant difference as well. Meaning, if it just goes to new houses, I'm okay with this. But I was thinking that there is a potential for being, say, for example, an addition to a house. A simple adding on to a room, that will not be covered by this, what we're discussing.
No, we don't believe so. No. If somebody came in and wanted to alter their kitchen, for example,
yes,
we wouldn't be in a position to say that they had to sheetrock the basement or sprinkle it. I mean, no, that's not going to happen. No.
Thank you for the clarification.
I think Alderman Lewis wants to talk, so I
This
will
time I do.
recognize Alderman Lewis.
Thank you. I appreciate the motion maker's intent to try to shave some costs off a building. However, I think that it should just been up or down vote on this one way or the other, because I don't think the fire department's savings are not intertwined with the building department's savings necessarily. I mean, there's things that could be taken out of the code, in my opinion, that had nothing to do with the fire department, fire protection. But I just think that the two of them don't really intermix that much. I think anything that's been done or could be done probably isn't going to be something the fire department's going to want to take out. And I mean, that's just, and I think there's just a lot of other issues here. But the fact that the home builders aren't here to talk, I guess I'm not going to rise in a lot of defense at this point, as long as we get another month to talk about it. I appreciate the intent. I just don't think I'll be supporting the motion, just because I don't think that the two are separate entities as far as building goes. And I think that the things that, in my opinion, that could be taken out just don't apply to the fire department. So that's my point when I vote no.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, and seeing no one else wanting to talk, the motion is on the floor to continue this item to the Legal and Finance Committee for August 12th. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 18 is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6050 to amend provisions in the International Residential Code to address compressible, shifting, and expansive soils by amending Chapter 15.13 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I believe we have a request to continue this item for 2 weeks to the next Legal and Finance Committee.
That's my motion.
I've got a motion by Nordstrom to continue item number 18 to the next Legal and Finance Committee meeting, second by Lewis.
What day is that?
That would be the 29th of July. Seeing any further discussion?
Me.
Seeing none? Oh, there is. Chair recognizes Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. My name's up here properly, it looks like, but
Oh,
if I can, I'd like to ask the City Attorney's Office a question on this continuation, because I think the recommendation came from them, so I would just like to ask a
the
question.
recommendation actually came from the home builders, but go ahead and address Mr.
Okay.
Wade Nyberg.
Carla.
Or Carla. Hi, Carla.
Hello.
Carla, and I think it was in an email that maybe you sent out as well. That's what I read, so that's why I'm saying the Attorney's Office. But my question to you is, it sounds like there's an agreement in principle, so I'm just wondering why there's also a recommendation for a continuation.
Well, we did meet, Brad and I met with the home builders last week. We finalized an ordinance at the end of the day yesterday. It was sent out to some additional home builders who were at the meeting that I haven't heard back from, which it's hard, when you don't hear it back, it's hard to say if that's a thumbs up or you know what. So, but I did get the confirmation from Jeff Loggy and from their attorney that it looked good. So I think we have an ordinance that's probably going to be good to go in 2 weeks, but given that I don't want to misrepresent the home builders' position on this since they're not here today. They're in Pierre for some state meetings, Jeff and some of the other builders are. So that's why we asked for the continuance, just to be sure.
Okay, I just wondered, since we have to go through 2 readings, if that couldn't have been ironed out during in between the 2 readings. So, but I'm willing to go along with it. But I think this has gone too long, in my opinion. But if this is getting us further towards getting it approved, I'm willing to go along with the continuation begrudgingly. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, we do have a motion to continue item number 18 for 2 weeks to the next Legal and Finance Committee meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 19 is an introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6065 to add bed and breakfast facilities as a conditional use in the Park Forest Zoning District by amending section 17.08.030 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Chair recognizes Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could ask the Attorney's Office a question on this particular item, please.
Yes, you may.
Wade, can you explain for the public, is this a change to the current ordinance that governs the bed and breakfast? Carla, if you would, please. Is this a change or is this something new? Can you please clarify that?
Yes, this ordinance would add bed and breakfast as a conditional use in the Park Forest District. Currently, bed and breakfast facilities are allowed as conditional uses in other zoning districts, and including other residential districts. There was a request that came forward from residents in a Park Forest District to operate a bed and breakfast facility at their home, and it was their home was zoned Park Forest, and that wasn't an allowable use in that district. So this ordinance would use the same regulations over bed and breakfast facilities that are present in other residential districts, and just allow it as a conditional use in a Park Forest district as well.
So the stipulations, what are the stipulations? If we're approving it with stipulations, what are the stipulations with the change?
Just for clarification, there are no this is an ordinance change, just to allow.
Yeah, I just saw that the action was.
Yeah,
right.
there's no stipulations associated with this first reading. What it would be, Carla, and I think I asked Mr. Limbaugh this, but maybe you can address this. Even though the council approves this ordinance change to allow the consideration of bed and breakfast facilities as a conditional use, it still means anybody who wants to apply for a bed and breakfast would still have to go through the Planning Commission for a conditional use, and proper notification around all the neighbors and everything else would continue as any other zoning at this time.
Yes, that's right. It would be a conditional use, not an automatically permissible use, but it would have to go through the conditional use permit process.
If that helps, Alderman.
It does,
Laurenti.
thank you. I yield the floor.
Chair recognizes Alderman Lewis.
Make a motion to approve and retain the floor.
I've got a motion by Lewis to approve item number 19, a second by Laurenti. Alderman Lewis, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it probably affects my ward more than most. I would assume this is probably covered by your covenants, folks, in case you're worried about living in Chapel, or Carriage Hills, Chapel Valley, Wildwood. I'm sure the covenants don't allow them anyway, so it's more probably for the outlying areas of the city that are, not in those subdivisions, and I'm just guessing, so covenants will trump any city ordinance anyway, so just don't be concerned, and does that be it, and you'll have plenty of notification. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain. I've got a motion by Nordstrom to adjourn, second by Laurenti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.